What's up, everyone? It is an amazing day ahead as we are going to talk about the wild card matchups for the 2020 season. And does anyone have a particular game in mind that we would like to talk about?
Dude, I don't know. There's a lot of interesting narratives this week, a lot of cool games. But I think one that's particularly interesting is the Titans versus Ravens. This is a playoff matchup we saw last year, too. An AFC powerhouse going up against another AFC powerhouse. We got one side that's prolific in the run through King Henry, 2,000-yard rusher, and then one side that's prolific in the run because of Lamar Jackson, their 1,000-yard back-to-back season quarterback, first time in history. So a really cool matchup here. But I think Titans are going to take this one. That's just my prediction. And this is just a game to watch because I don't think the Ravens defense is all that it was last year. I don't think the Ravens team is all that it was last year. And I think the Titans got the best of them last year. And the Titans team looks better this year, in my opinion. So I think it's a game to watch because Lamar Jackson's an MVP. He might be trying to prove doubters wrong this season. You could see a surprise game from the Ravens. But you're going to see a strong showing from the Titans. I can almost be sure of that. I hope. So that's my game to watch for the week.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think it's going to be a great game, but I think the Ravens come with a vengeance. Last year, they lost to the Titans, actually in Baltimore, but I think
and Earl Thomas got turned around into a blocker for Derrick Henry.
That was hilarious. But I think when we think about this game, the Ravens, they have a lot of firepower. I know the Titans have Derrick Henry, and the Ravens lost a lot of guys defensively. But I'm just going to go with the bettors here. I think they're 5-point favorites. I like Lamar Jackson. He had that MVP year last season, so I'm really excited to see what happens. I think it's a great game.
I think I really see it's going to be a tough game. I just want to also acknowledge I really enjoy seeing how AJ Brown has really came into his own. Really just you saw it I think a lot last game
that catch last game at the end of the game.
AJ Brown is criminally underrated in my opinion.
Such strong hands. If that ball hits his hands, no one's knocking it out. He's such a good player. But I do see Lamar getting his first playoff win. I think he deserves it. I think it's interesting because they were so good last year. For them to go out in their first game, it's kind of disappointing to see. But I definitely could see the Ravens winning this game, and then possibly if they peak at the right time, this is what happens in the playoffs. It's all about putting it together at the end of the season. They could get that win, and it's one game at a time. Obviously, I don't know if they beat the Chiefs or not, but Lamar is a dynamic player. We'll see what happens.
In the NFL, anything can happen, and when you preface it like that, you can look at this as kind of like a do-over for Lamar, and that makes it kind of like a narrative building thing around him, because I think if Lamar Jackson loses this game, you see the comments, oh, he's just a running back, blah, blah, blah. I think the narrative against him will get a lot stronger. But if he wins this game, this can be an opportunity for Lamar to solidify himself as a top quarterback in the league.
That's what we've talked about all year. Can the Ravens beat that team that's better than them?
And they haven't been able to up to this point, though. And that's why I think the Titans, well coached, they've got that powerhouse running back. They've got the running game. Tannehill, I think, is also an underrated player. I think they have a good passing game. We've talked about AJ Brown. We didn't even talk about Corey Davis, who seems like he catches a 70-yard pass every game. So I just think, this Titans team is stronger. But I do think it's an interesting matchup. So
yeah, I also think it's important to just dive into some of the specifics. So both teams are strong in their respective fields in terms of the Titans are 5-3 at home, and the Ravens are 6-2 away. So that's interesting to look at, and it's also interesting to see that Baltimore is actually favored away. I think personally I would go with the Titans, but I guess obviously there's a reason. I guess the Ravens have won 5 games in a row now, so they're coming off of a hot streak. They're looking good, but I do think that the Titans will take this one. I think their run game is very overpowering. And they also obviously have weapons in their receiving core. So I think they have a well-balanced offense, but at the same time,
top 10 offense.
What did you say?
It's a top 10 offense, and they're a great
team.
Oh,
yeah, for sure. But then the part of their team which is sketchy is their defense, where it seems like they'll play these teams that they should beat handily, and they'll run off into like potentially going into overtime because their defense can't stop the team.
It's their back end. Their secondary is definitely.
No, yeah. But yeah. I guess for me it's the Titans that are going to take this one, but I don't know. We'll see.
Jacob, what do you think?
I'm on the Ravens. I actually agree with you, Andrew, in that I think that Lamar Jackson and just that running game is going to be really overpowering for the Titans. I think that they'll come out hot, and the Titans, like, I think they struggle to play from behind just because of how they're a really run dominant offense. I honestly think that Lamar Jackson just like is really going to thrive and just that like you were saying, Ethan, that like, do-over role. So that's where I'm at for that.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely going to be one of the more interesting matchups on Sunday. But another super, super interesting matchup on Sunday, Cleveland versus Pittsburgh. I think this, the Browns making the playoffs. Honestly, I'm rooting for them to make to make a Super Bowl run at this point because it's so historical. They have not been here for a long time, but sadly, honestly, I do not think they're going to win this game. I don't think it happens. Although last week they did have a pretty strong showing, I guess, against the second unit, whatever, the second stringers. That's what all the Steelers fans were commenting on the NFL. They were like, "Oh, you beat our bench," but they did beat the team. So that might have some implications this week. Browns have been an explosive offense. They do have some defensive stars too, but I think Pittsburgh's, a tenured coaching staff. I think Big Ben. I think the veteran leadership. I think Pittsburgh being that top team all season. I don't think their season ends here, and I think they win this game.
And you talk about the coaching staff. I think when we think about coaching, Kevin Stefanski won't be coaching because he just got COVID. And same as their 5 other assistant coaches. Their leading tackler, Olivier Vernon, has COVID. And they went to like 5.5-point underdogs. They went down 1.5. And I think it's really classic Cleveland Browns. Whatever needs to go wrong goes wrong. They haven't made the playoffs.
Like the ultimate underdog story too. What if we see Baker put up
What's the
400 yards and 3 touchdowns and lead this team to victory?
When does the narrative of the Browns always going wrong end? Like they made the playoffs fine. Like if they didn't make the playoffs last week, then that narrative would be like even stronger of like how like always the Browns, something goes wrong. But like maybe they get the win. Like I think they're a really good team, but they got to put it together for sure. Not having Stefanski obviously is going to hurt, but I'd really like to see this Browns team get a win in the playoffs. So like they come back the next year trying to improve upon that, and not just trying to get in and get out.
And I think the Steelers are such a no-nonsense organization. When do you see an interim head coach for a week go into Pittsburgh? I think Pittsburgh wins handily this week, and I don't
know about handily though. They've looked pretty shit to end the season, honestly. Like the last stretch of the season was really rough for Pittsburgh. They started 11-0, and they did not end the season looking like that 11-0 undefeated team. They just didn't. So who knows? Maybe their confidence is shaken up. We talk about them, they're the Browns. Maybe we have this moniker of always expecting them to disappoint us subliminally, so we're going to count them down a level lower just automatically. But they have been a good team. They have been a good offense. We can't count them out yet. Interesting game, but I agree, Wolf, at the end of the day. I think the Steelers, I think they're just, as you said, a no-nonsense organization that's been here before, and they're just going to get it done.
Yeah, no, I agree too. I agree with you completely, Ethan. I think it's going to be a close game, but I do think that Pittsburgh is going to take this one. Again, I'm coming in with the stats of Pittsburgh being 7-1 at home. Cleveland is 5-3 away, so both not shaky. I mean, Steelers obviously 7-1 at home is a very, very good record. But I do think the Browns will put up a fight for sure. Well, I've been saying all season, and I don't know if I've said it here. I've definitely said it around to other people, but I've seen the Steelers. To me, they're just like a kind of a fluke team. Like they are 12-4, but I feel like
you were saying that to me at the start of the season, and as the semester went on, you're like, when they were the last undefeated team in the league, I think you mentioned.
They're not scary at all.
No,
yeah, that's my point. That's why I think they're going to win the game, because I think they're a better football team than the Cleveland Browns, especially without Stefanski. But I also think that I don't know how far they're going to go realistically.
They're not beating the Chiefs.
They're not beating.
And then that's it.
They
might win this game and that's it. Like, who knows?
Well, who wins MVP then? You know what? Let's finish up talking about Wild Card Weekend.
I was thinking the same thing actually.
Yeah. There's a lot to talk about there. Should we just finish up talking about Sunday then before moving on to the Saturday game?
Jacob, what were your thoughts on the Browns here?
Oh yeah, Jacob.
Yeah, no, let's go ahead and finish up that Sunday. So that last game is the Bears Saints. I want to say. Yeah, the Bears defense impressed me against the Packers. Honestly, I didn't think that they would have played as well as they did. But I just think that the Saints have a tendency to really like disappoint, like deep into the playoffs, and you've seen it so often in the past couple of years. And so I think that that Bears defense should keep them in that game.
I don't think so.
I do, honestly.
I think
they've looked pretty good. The Bears, I mean, Mitch Trubisky has looked a little different than what we're used to end this season, because he's completing passes and they're winning games. But, you know, they're the Saints. And there is this thing out there we were talking about before we started recording. Drew Brees might retire after this season is over. So they're not going out in the first round against the Chicago Bears and Mitchell Trubisky. Even though they do have a scary defense. Khalil Mack might like break Brees' ribs again or something like that. But I think the Saints win this game anyway. I think on offense there too. I mean, I think they have a strong defense, and I think the Bears are just not well-rounded enough, and they're a good team. The Bears are a good team. I don't think they're in the same like level in terms of like the NFL power rankings as the Saints. I think to
add on to that, I think the Saints could potentially go really deep in the playoffs this year.
Absolutely.
I'd be really surprised if they didn't make it to the NFC Championship. Like, I like their matchups just off looking at it, because let's say, like, looking at the bracket, right? I have the Saints beating the Bears. Let's say the Seahawks or Rams win, I'm assuming the Seahawks probably will, but like we will get into that, I guess. But I see the Saints beating the Seahawks as well. Like I don't really see I don't see that part of the NFC is just not very strong in my opinion. Like on that side in the playoffs, like
dude,
I don't think they're that strong, and I think the Saints are definitely going to get to the NFC Championship.
And I have to say, I think with the Saints, I think it's an 8.5-point spread. I think they win easily. I think the most underrated part of the Saints is their defense. Look at what they did to Tom Brady and the Bucs. You have their front four and Jackrabbit and Lattimore. I think they're going to eat up Trubisky. The Bears they're a nice 8-8 team. That's what they are to me. And I think at home, with the half fans, I think the Saints win very easily. I think it's the worst matchup of the week.
Yeah, I do. I do think it's the biggest disparity of the week in terms of the Saints are going to win this game. They're just a level above, but I don't know if it's going to be that easy for the whole playoffs. And
it is the playoffs. Yeah.
And Jacob did mention it is the playoffs, and the Saints are the Saints. And every single year they look freaking incredible going into the playoffs. And then Stephon Diggs catches a miracle touchdown, or
TPI.
Yeah, exactly, or a missed pass interference, and they're screwed. And something happens every year. But let's hope not this year. Maybe this is the year Drew Brees gets lucky. It would be interesting to see the Saints in the Super Bowl, but we've been saying that every season. So who knows? But it's a good team, and I think you are underrating the NFC a little bit, especially the Seahawks. Experienced playoff team. Russell Wilson went down a little bit in the last couple of weeks, but they're a good team. They've got some talent, and I think they win a playoff game. I think they win. You want to go into talking about Seahawks and Rams? Is that okay?
I just wanted to add one thing. Well, it's more of like a question, so I don't know how much we want to get into this, but I've been hearing a little bit of chatter, like a little bit on Twitter. It's not like a big thing, but people are kind of saying that they don't see Drew Brees as the same quarterback as he once was, and that is probably true considering his age. But have you guys noticed that his skill level has been dropping off like a lot, or is it kind of like?
No, I mean, I still think the Saints are that team that they've been, where when they come to town in the regular season, like they're probably going to win. And in any matchup in the regular season, they're probably going to win because Drew Brees. And this season, he's been throwing a deep ball. Honestly, I think I saw it more this season than I saw it last season. At least that's aside from his injury in the middle. In the games, he was throwing it deep a little bit more. I noticed.
It's so good.
Yeah. I don't know if I think that narrative holds a lot of weight. I do think he's older. Maybe he's not how he was in his prime, but that's making it sound like he's not like a starting caliber upper tier quarterback, which just isn't true.
His leaderships are his intangibles, and I think that's
yeah.
I don't think necessarily it was that he's not a starter. I think it was more that his skill level has dropped off significantly to a point where he's not really going to do that much in the playoffs. Like, he may beat the Bears, and then he's going to lose, and then he's going to retire. So, which would be a sad ending to a great career for me. Like, I think he has a very.
It could happen. That could definitely happen because of the NFL, but I think that's just a little too like, I don't know. I think that's just a bad way of looking at it, because even if he does go out after beating the Bears, I don't necessarily think it's because he's not doing that much in the playoffs. It might just be because like, oh, the Seahawks, Russell Wilson has a tremendous game, or they get screwed out in another. Like, in the past playoff runs, it's not like Drew Brees has had terrible games either. Those games have been competitive. He's been in them. He's always been in them down to the wire, and that's why those game-breaking moments are so heartbreaking. It's because it's looked good for the Saints, because Drew Brees looks good 95% of the time, and I think that will maintain in this year's playoffs. Jacob, were you saying something?
Yeah, no doubt. There's 11 people on the field, and Drew Brees play, regardless of how it is, he's still a great player. So,
For sure.
But yeah, no, I'm there. The Saints are a lot better than the Bears. Don't get me wrong. I just think that should be a low-scoring game and close till the end.
Yeah, no, and let's keep a realistic view of that Bears defense, because they are an NFL team. They are a good one at that, and their strength is defense. But as I said, I want to transition to that Seattle Rams game, because honestly, I think actually, can we talk about Colts Bills? Because we're running a little long. We're talking a lot about each game, and I don't know if we'll have as much on the next 3 games, but I think that's the most interesting game that happens on Saturday. So can we talk about that one? Is that cool with you guys?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. Bills Mafia hasn't had a home game in so long, but I'm really excited to see like Josh Allen's athleticism against that defense. And then you look at Phillip Rivers, he has that leadership, that experience, but it's really good. I think the Bills win handily. They're a better team, but it's going to be way closer than people think. I think the Bills maybe win by a field goal. It's going to be a defensive game, and I think it's the game stays in the teens, like 17-14.
I don't know. I think it'll be a tough game, as you said. I think Indianapolis is a gritty team, but the Bills just lit up 56 points on the Dolphins last week. They are an offensive, like Stephon Diggs is hard to stop. Josh Allen is hard to stop. I mean, even their running backs have been playing well this season. Their offense is really, really powerful. I think they win this game. And I think Phillip Rivers is more so that quarterback that you were talking about in that take, as they referred to Drew Brees, as he gets to the playoffs and he just sort of fizzes out and doesn't do much. And that's why he doesn't have a Super Bowl to his name. And I think the Colts are a good team. I'm not trying to shit on them too much. Like, really powerful defense. They could win this game. It's definitely possible. But I think Buffalo is just a better team. I think Josh Allen is currently the better quarterback. And I think Buffalo wins this game.
Jonathan Taylor, though, guys, like, watch out.
Jonathan Taylor is a beast.
Third leading rusher this year.
Yeah, you can't forget, because like players like that could also just have explosive games too.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to give my opinion, but no, I think I agree. I agree with Andrew. I think it's going to be a close game, but I do see the Bills winning this one. And like Andrew said, I'm very excited for this game. It's probably one of the games I'm most excited for, apart from maybe the Ravens-Titans game. Just a little tidbit: the Bills are 7-1 at home, and the Colts are 5-3 away. Again, all these teams are going to have good records home and away, because most of them have winning records. Not all of them besides Washington, but No, yeah, that's definitely going to be an interesting game. I think Josh Allen brings a lot to the table. They have obviously Stephon Diggs has been playing an insane season. Um, and I don't know. I don't know too much about the Colts, to be honest with you. Wacker, you said they have a good defense, so we'll see how they put up against the Bills offense. But I do see the Bills taking this one. Considering they also have a home game, I think that's important. So
I really hope the Bills win because I do see that game is like biggest upset alert that I really see on the week. Of like I could see the Colts really like putting together a game and upsetting the Bills, and that really suck for that fan base. Even though I'm a Dolphins fan, like I would still feel kind of bad
Yeah,
because
you feel for Bills fans for sure.
I'd still feel for them. And like Josh Allen had such a great season. I just want him to continue on into the playoffs. But I do see possible upset alert. We'll see.
Can you guys see the football team upsetting the Bucks on
No.
Saturday?
I think Tom Brady wins. I think Tom Brady does what Tom Brady does, and I think he goes to the second round. He's not going to blow it in his first year. Back in the playoffs, he lost last year to the Titans. He's not going to do the same thing this year to the Redskins. He is the GOAT. Don't sleep on Brady. If they lose this game, I would be really sad. Just because, not even because I'm a Tampa Bay fan, just because, like, I would be happy to watch Tom Brady make a run at 43 years old. That'd just be so nice to watch as a football fan because I want to witness greatness. And I think there's potential here. I think this first round is a win.
Yeah, their offense has looked awesome the past couple of weeks. Like, really, really unstoppable. I think even against the Washington defense, I think they'll roll.
yeah, no, it was interesting. Andrew proposed an interesting question to me today. He asked me, "Do you think Nick Bosa or Chase Young is better?" And his answer was Chase Young. I wonder what you guys think on that.
I think Nick Bosa is more proven, but I think
Chase
they're
Young will have
very
a better career.
Yeah, I think Chase Young has it to be a very, very good player. Yeah, it's hard to say though, because I think Nick Bosa also has row. So I don't know. I think they're just both incredible, defensive menaces, honestly. But I think overall, maybe I'd have to give the edge to Chase Young just because.
Yeah, and going back to the game between Washington and Tampa, I think it's a terrible analogy, but just think about it. Shannon Sharp said it earlier today, and when animals are in the wild and they see another animal limping, they want to attack it and kill it. The Bucks do not care about Alex Smith's story. They will be going after his legs all game. That's how Bruce Arians thinks. They want to win the game, and they want to win defensively, and that's how I think they're going to win.
Yeah. No, I think another interesting tidbit is that Washington is 3-5 at home. They are 7-9 overall.
5-1 with Alex Smith.
Yeah, no, that is true. So I think it's going to be interesting. I do see Tampa Bay taking it just because of Tom Brady's expertise and the longevity of his career and obviously all that he's accomplished. But I hope Washington. I mean, I think Washington can put up a fight. I hope they can too. Just because I have no one to root for, so I'm gonna root in division and hope for the football team to do the best. But
Look at who the football team's beaten this year, and like it's just a bunch of like trash. Like they beat the Steelers. That was like their real only real dub. Like they lost. Like it's just I don't. There's no way. Like I would be really like if the Bucks somehow manage to screw this up, that's actually embarrassing.
And I don't know. I think the Bucks offense is really strong. I think their deep strong weaknesses, but I think you're right, Wilf, and I think we're all in agreement. Is this the only one that we've all in agreement on? The Tampa Bay versus Washington team.
Yeah,
I mean, the Bills game. Everyone thinks the Bills are going to win, right?
I don't know. I think Colts winning more than I could see the football team winning, but I guess
That's my biggest upset alert.
I mean, and yeah, I didn't really want to get into this, but I just have to. The Eagles are just such a sorry franchise. Like, what the hell are they doing? Like it's not even funny. It's just absolutely ridiculous. You're playing professional football, and I mean, there's no excuses for the Giants. They won 6 games. That's fair, but you don't put in freaking Nate Sudfeld and act like you're not trying to like tank, and clearly not allow the Giants to get into the playoffs. Like I understand they didn't win enough games. I get that, but the Eagles not trying in a game against the Washington football team is like, come on, like do better. It's professional football. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Theo, I definitely sympathize with you there. That was like really hard to watch. I feel for all Giants fans on that one. And just the final game that we should talk about is the Rams and the Seahawks. And I think that the Seahawks defense has really been impressing me the past couple of weeks, and I like to see that those teams that are having strong defensive performances going into the playoffs, because that's really the type of football that you're going to see. And I think that at the end of the day, Russ is the better quarterback, and the Seahawks should take this one.
And I agree with you. I think it's scary that the Rams haven't even said who's starting at quarterback. Obviously, we have Goff with it coming off an injured thumb, I think, or finger.
Yeah.
And Seahawks at home. I'm with you, Jacob.
Also the Rams just took Cooper Kupp off of their COVID list, so he will be available, I believe. But
It's huge.
that is very important, but I agree. I think the Seahawks do take this one.
I am also in agreement. I think Russell Wilson, I think that Seahawks team is just a better team than the Los Angeles Rams, although I think the Rams have a 45% chance of winning this game. I think it's a very close game. I think it's going to be like 20-7. So that's how I'm seeing this game, but I think this.
You grabbed that one from ESPN or what?
I feel like that game's gonna be so boring. Not gonna lie.
No, I actually I didn't.
You were close there. They actually have a 40.9% chance according to ESPN, but who knows?
So I'm a little more generous to the Rams.
Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for the episode, and huge special guest coming on next.
Huge.
If you guys are football fans, if you guys are fans of receivers, we're not going to tell you who it is, but it is an NFL player.
Too many hints. Pro Bowler.
A starter, a 2-time Pro Bowler, and we will have a lot of fun. So stay
tuned. A great guy overall,
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So thanks for watching, guys. Peace.
Roll. Peace.